Hello and welcome to our Lent lockdown video for today. Now, during Lent we don't normally have chocolate, but Sam and Gemma seem to have this thing about, we're allowed chocolate. I've got one little bit of chocolate, a little bit of dairy milk. I think I'll have that first before we get going. Chocolate. So good. Now I've got this chocolate out of my mouth. I'm here to tell you a story about how Jesus interacts with two very, very different people. It's quite a long story, so I'm going to kind of paraphrase it, say it in my own words, so that it comes across a bit quicker. So, Jesus was out and about, and as often happens, when Jesus was out and about, a large crowd gathered around him. And an important man from the church was there, and his name was Jairus. And when Jairus saw Jesus, he bowed down before him, and he said, "My 12-year-old daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her, and then she will be healed and will live." Jesus went with him, and lots of people followed Jesus. But there was also a woman there, and she had been bleeding for the past 12 years, and she had suffered very much. No doctors could cure her, and she was just getting worse. And when she saw Jesus, she followed him, and all she did was she touched his coat, and the woman thought, "If I can even touch his coat, then that will be enough to heal me." And when she touched his coat, her bleeding stopped, and she was healed. She could feel her body healing. It was amazing. Jesus felt some of that power go out of him. And so he stopped and he turned around and he said, "Who touched my clothes?" Now the woman, she came forward and she bowed at Jesus' feet and she was shaking with fear. And she told him her story. And Jesus said to her, "Dear woman, you are made well because you believed. Go in peace. You will have no more suffering." Of course, all this time Jairus' daughter was still unwell, and then some people came from Jairus' house. And they said to Jairus, "Your daughter has died. You don't need to bother Jesus now." But Jesus, he paid no attention to them and he said, "Don't be afraid, only believe." So when Jesus then arrived at Jairus' house, there were many people there and they were crying loudly. And Jesus said to them, "There's so much confusion going on here." He said, "Why are you crying and making so much noise? This child is not dead. She's just sleeping." And you know what they did? They laughed at him. And Jesus told the people to leave, and he went up into the room and he took the daughter's parents, and he took just two or three of his disciples with him. And in there, he then took hold of the little girl's hand, and he said to her, "Little girl, I tell you to stand up." And she did. She stood up and she started walking, and the father and mother were amazed. I'm not surprised they were amazed. That's an amazing story about Jesus. Now, in this story, there are two people there, and we're all different. I'm different to you, and you're different to me. We're all unique. That's how God made us. But we're all taught to treat everyone fairly. But in this story, was Jesus being fair to Jairus when he stopped and helped that woman who was sick? If Jairus was thinking, "My daughter's dying," but Jesus had to stop and help that woman. And this shows us that we're all very different, and when we're fair to everybody, as we're taught to be, that doesn't necessarily mean we're all treated the same. And you can see in this story that Jesus treated those two people very differently. So how can we respond and tell other people God's story and tell our own stories of faith in ways that recognise that we're all different and that the person we're talking to today is different to the person we were talking to yesterday? How can we tell that story? Now, we all have different parts of our body which are very different. Our fingers are all different. Look, this finger is different to that finger. What's this on my fingers? Ah, yes. Now, we can do little activities every day. So before I started recording this, was doing some finger painting. Look, I did some finger painting there. And do you know why I did that finger painting beforehand? I did it because I wanted to write, "Thank you, God, that we are all different and unique." That's what I've written. And I wanted to do that so I could then pop this note into my thankfulness jar. Still not decorated though, is it? Oh dear. Anyway, you might want to go away and do some finger painting of your own and see how your fingers are different. The prints on every finger are different and all our fingerprints are unique. And then you might want to use those and do some finger painting. Have some fun with it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.